Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 192. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+, on the Dumb SEO Questions page on Facebook, and the Dumb SEO QS profile on Twitter. With us today we have David Rosam. David is an SEO of 500 years standing.
He's gone down.
David is from the southern part of England. Masataki Wasner is not too far away in Wimbledon in the UK. Masataki is webmaster of wasserweb.net. He's a translator in languages such as German, Japanese, and English, and I think also a little Russian. I see a Russian dictionary behind his desk. And you can find Masataki at wasaweb.net. And you can find David at writingforseo.org. Micah Fisher-Kirshner is a regular speaker on the SEO public speaking circuit. He's also senior SEO manager at Zendesk.com in the USA. Micah, lives on the west coast of the USA, in where was it again? The Bay Area. Is that right? Rob Mars is an AdWords aficionado. He is also a Google top contributor on the. I forgot to mention that Masataki is a Google top contributor on the AdSense community. Rob is a Google top contributor on the AdWords and Dutch AdWords and English webmasters community. And I know I've missed one, but I'm sorry. Rob can be found at marketbiz.nl, marketbizz.nl. And Tim Capper is also a Google top contributor on the Google My Business community, and he's also CEO of onlineownership.com. You can find Tim there, and also in Corby, in the frozen wastelands just north of London. All right, let's have a look at our first question tonight. I'll just tweet this. And this one is titled "The Keywords Meta Tag No Longer Used by Search Engines." Nick Thorley said, hopefully a quick question for you all. The keywords meta tag is no longer used by search engines, but many still add keywords to it for site management purposes, so that the editors of the site know what keywords each page is trying to target, so they are aware when editing and writing content. My question is, do the search engines penalize you for this, as it's widely known that the tag is no longer used, i.e. They see you as a spammer? Or do they simply ignore the tag and its contents so that it has no effect, positive or negative?
This is just.
Why would they penalize? I don't get it.
Right. And the other thing is why would you want to put your keywords that you're targeting for competitors to see? There's a CMS, but you have a CMS. Use it. In the CMS, that's the place where you can put the terms so that they can see what they need to do. You don't need to say, hey, publicly we're doing all of this. That just, yeah. There's a couple search engines that still do use the meta keywords, and depending on your focus within certain countries. It might have a small set of value, but there's really no need, and you shouldn't be displaying it whatsoever. But it's
Okay.
not.
Yep.
A lot of testing tools still use the meta tag to see if your keywords fit the page. The kind of automated SEO testers. So if you don't use it, they don't know which keywords you're optimizing for.
Yeah.
Not that that matters.
Those have got to be pretty open, because if you've got a tool set up for that, then that tool's probably 5 years old. To be honest, I just don't see that. Yeah, who builds a tool with that these days for that purpose?
Yoast, the Yoast provides a thing. I think they've changed. It's called focus keywords. So for example, on a Yoast thing, what that's intended to do is a traffic light system. So from red, well, you've called your page this, your title of your page is this, you haven't included any of that in your copy. So it's kind of there like a traffic light. It's not actually a meta keyword, but people can put it in, and it kind of then sort of Yoast gives you like a sort of score, and sometimes people get very confused with that, because I know I've been, if I've gone into to look at someone's site for them, and you go onto a page, and there's like 25 focus keywords, and you're like, mate, no.
Okay, I think this has been covered fairly well by you guys for Nick Thorley. Let's move on to the next. Padmanab Daga, in a question titled "How to Increase Traffic Based on Specific Keywords," said, "Hi, I am new here and to SEO. I have an important question. Let's say my main keyword is build, which I want to rank for. I create a landing page, and when searchers type build, they reach here. Good luck with that plan. My main keyword content will be about 100 to 1,000 how to build something pages, like how to build a toy or how to build a boat. Technically, my landing page for the build query will be only introductory and navigational, and people will be more often search for the direct how to build query and be directed to the particular page. So how do I increase my traffic for build, as that is what I need to rank for? The specific how to build will be too tough to rank. So now I have told you the context. How do I get traffic to build without SEO cannibalism? Let's say when users type build, instead of being shown my main landing, introductory and navigational page of build, they get shown my most searched deeper pages, how to build a boat, how to build a toy, and how to build a card house, as they have high traffic and include the word build. I'm confused. Suraj Gadagay made a great answer on this one on the SEO Questions community on Google+. And I'm guessing you all think that's the best best answer and don't want to top it. Is that it? And Tim Capper also added an answer there. All right. Padmanab, I hope that was useful to you. I'm fairly sure it was. Question 3 on your run list is from Sean Thurbide, and he asks a question titled "Ranking Drops Too Fast." Sean said, "Hi everyone, I'm very new to this forum and am by no means an SEO expert. It is very daunting and confusing to business owners like me, and that is why I hired an outside source to look after our online marketing and SEO requirements in an effort to increase business. After 6 months of working with this source, I made arrangements to review the work they had done and see how their work had helped our rankings on Google. I was pleasantly surprised to see that we ranked in the top 3 organically in 6 of 8 major search terms we had targeted. His report showed this, and I was also a witness to it as I pulled up the searches on my own computer and iPad. However, 2 weeks later, I went to show some of my colleagues our improvement and was stunned to see that we had dropped dramatically in almost every category and no longer ranked in the top 10 of any of the search terms. I'm a little suspicious about how fast the rankings could change and wonder if the report I was given was pumped up in order to make the marketing look better than it was. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the work done, but I need to know if I'm being overly suspicious or if things can indeed change that fast. Can someone temporarily influence Google organic rankings in an area to get a good showing for their customer? I would appreciate your comments. As I said, I'm simply trying to learn how this all works and how I can benefit from your knowledge. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that to temporarily increase rankings, and there are both white hat and gray hat ways of doing so. Whether or not the agency or the contractor is doing so, it's without looking into the data offhand. That's hard to say. But if Dave Elliott didn't find anything, then it's possible it could be a ranking shift, a Google algo change within your niche. It could be that the reporting was looking at a local situation, and if you look nationally, it's a different story entirely. So there's a lot of possibilities. It could also just be something occurred on your own side that you need to take a look at that might be affecting it, the rankings. That's the thing sometimes with SEO. There's a lot of potential issues that can come up, and without checking off all the boxes to make sure, like, okay, did we accidentally no index our pages? Did we stop Google from crawling? Did the page load time go so high up it's creating issues? There's possibilities on both ends beyond it, say, being only on the agency side of the issue. The question, of course, I would have, obviously in turn, is I think the biggest one, is asking the outside source an understanding of what they've done, understanding what's happening, and seeing if they have an idea for that. So, you've hired them. You should be able to hopefully in turn trust them with giving an honest assessment. And I would be looking into that and trying to get an understanding of what's happening. And hopefully they are able to provide some helpful information for you so that you can kind of figure out what's going on. And one hopes that you haven't been conned, so to speak, and that they're giving you an inaccurate set of information.
Cool.
I think you should submit and verify his site on Search Console and see what Google has to say about it.
Yeah.
There he will see the real results and the real positions, or the best guess positions. And it's fairly okay nowadays. Ah, that's what Jim said too. Okay.
Okay. All right. Sean Thurvide, I hope that's been useful to you, and we look forward to more of your questions. I'll just tweet that and we'll move on to the next. Oh, I've already done that. Ahead of myself. Okay. This one is from Chase Rayner on schema and organization markup. Chase said, "Hey guys, I have a schema question. Can a homepage have organization markup and a subpage on the same site? Have local business markup. The homepage is representing a brand and a subpage is representing a local business." Tim Capper, you said, yup. Maybe you could answer this one.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Obviously, if your main brand is a brand, it's an organization, and then whether you have 10 stores within that brand or 100 stores or 1,000 stores, those are the actual local businesses itself within that organization. You can also use, you could mark it up as the whole thing as a local business and then use the individual pages as defined as a local business within a local business, but I prefer to use an organization because in theory you are actually building a brand as such, and then those are actual shop fronts around the country or whatever the case may be. So yeah, that's fine. That's the way I do that if it's when I come across it.
Yep. Okay. I think that's the best answer we're going to get, so we'll move on from that one. And here is one from Chris Bullag. It's a question about Google Business Page. He said, maybe a silly question, but I'm setting a friend up with a site and Google account for her business. She's a yoga teacher and personal trainer. Her current Google Business Page describes her as a yoga studio. Now, looking at Google business categories, am I going to have a problem here? I.e., it would make sense to set up two sites as the content differs, one for yoga and another for personal training. Would having duplicate contact details cause issues? She'd prefer to have only one site. Would having a site with content for two different services mess up the strength of SEO on each, i.e. she would not rank as well against other yoga sites? Note that I appreciate that G+ is different to SEO. It just sent alarm bells ringing. Any advice would be great.
Well, so firstly she's talking about business pages. So under their guidelines, you can only have one business. What you're talking about are services. Essentially, she's got one business offering two services, so a yoga class and a PT class. So she can actually only have one business called whatever it's called, and then pick a top line category, whether it be yoga, and then the second category being fitness instructor, whichever or. So that's the way to go about that within guidelines there. In terms of your actual website, it makes perfect sense for the business itself. The website is called the same as the business, and it makes perfect sense to have yoga in there as a category where you list your services, your classes, your days, your dates, what kind of yoga you do. There's different yogas. Then obviously have a fitness one, which is your PT. You could even, you could have several others. It all falls within health, and it all falls within, what you're doing, and it makes sense, rather maintaining one than two, 2, 3, or 4 mediocre ones. It makes sense. That's the business. It's easier to maintain. It builds up, it builds up your authority within sort of the health. So yeah, one business page, one website.
Excellent. Thanks, Tim. Anyone want to add anything to that? And thank you, Tim, for adding to that through the week. It makes it great for people, and I'm sure we all appreciate the effort that is put into it. Here's one from Ahmed Kumar in a question titled "Another Redirection Question." He said, "I have website A and have 100 plus backlinks. If I block my website from robots text and want to redirect it onto website B, will site B then get the benefit of site A's backlinks?"
Well, if you block it, robots won't see it, will they?
True enough, Rob. Federico basically said that in the community too. So Federico said, 3, I won't redirect it without robots text blocking it. And then Suraj Gadagay also jumped in and said, and you might want to use the site move tool option if you want to let search engines know that site A has moved to location B. We can call that an answer, can't we?
Yes.
Okay. This one is from Marty Eigner on rich cards, which is a new feature in the Google Search Console. Marty said, I have noticed in Google Search Console there is a new tab called Rich Cards. What are they, and how do you add them to your website? It's nice that John Mueller popped into our community and provided a good link, and we thank John for that.
So, rich cards essentially are like recipes. Recipes are one. So rich cards would be if somebody searched for chicken a la king recipe, you get your carousel across the top where it would give you snippets of the different kind of recipes. So essentially it's Schema, whichever you're using, you're marking up the name of the recipe, different things in there, the cooking time, the the details, the cooking time, the details, the ingredients, the image, the thumbnail image, and essentially Google will obviously it's like anything in terms of what they feel is from an authority site. They will find obviously those rich cards and they will display them in search. If they find them in your site, they will also then display them in the webmaster, the new search console, kind of like which we've always had in terms of that's always been there for a good while now, is the structured data, and it will say what kind of structured data is present. But if you're using sort of the rich cards, which it's not a different kind of schema or anything like that, it's just ones which Google will display as a rich card, i.e. recipes or people, they'll display those. There's different variations on them. And if they detect that those could be potentially shown as a rich card and you've correctly marked it up, then it will still show it in the normal structured data section, but it will also now specifically show them in the rich card section. So it's not as different in that sense. It's they specifically showing what would be available to be displayed as a rich card.
Thank you, Tim. Anybody want to answer or add to that answer?
Oh, Suraj, I'm just reading Suraj. Oh, so that's cool. So it lets you know when it's been indexed. So I'm assuming it would show as in the regular structured data section, and then when it gets indexed, they move that section up to the rich card section, if I understand it correctly.
Yeah. As well as John Mueller commenting on that question, we had Suraj and Dave Elliott. We're so lucky to have those guys. All right, let's move on to the next. This one is from Chase Rayner. A question regarding schema news markup. He said, when should you implement news markup of a blog markup, i.e. When you publish articles every day?
Well, my blog, I try to keep it updated, but that is essentially a blog. So that comes with, but I suppose if you're going to be competing in the space where you would essentially class it as a news article, and news articles tend to be daily or every other day, then I suppose you could say, right, okay, we're moving into that kind of genre, that kind of space where it's going to be, daily publications of a more news kind of structure, whereas something like, articles that you publish on a blog, which would be how-tos, and yeah, sure, every now and again there's like been a release or something and you update it, so that was technically newsy, but 99% of the time most of your stuff on a blog is more article based, whereas news is not necessarily, I don't know if I'm making sense here, but news articles tend to be news articles. I know what I mean.
Yeah. I get what you mean, Tim. I think the thing is, we might go back to old print ideas when newspapers and magazines had news and features. And news was the news stuff, and features were the longer things that weren't necessarily so time defined. I think I'm not sure how Google defines news, but I think most people know what news is instinctively. And I think that if you pick up a newspaper, remember those dead trees, ink, all that sort of thing. You have a look at the news. Most of it is news, unless it's a tabloid.
Can you still submit to Google News? I wonder if you can. You used to be able to suggest your site to Google News. I know I did years ago, and they came back and said, fuck off. So if you can still submit or suggest, that would be your answer. So submit your site, they look at the blog, and they go, no, thank you. Or then they go, yeah, fine, we'll start. That's when your answer is, okay, I can now start marking up as news.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, they rejected me years ago.
Oh, look. Oh, poor Tim, rejected.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that... What?
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I think, like David said, it's your shorter snippets, daily, regular, even 3-4 times a day. They short down the money. They explain exactly what's going on, what's happened in the news. And then, of course, you get like the featured articles, that your longer, more in-depth how-tos and blah, blah, blahs, and your travel features and your editorial features. And, those are your articles as such, which wouldn't be marked up as news. You would use that as an article, or you clearly define which one's which, have them in their own separate sections. So one would be in your news category, which would be updated regularly, and then have your own, which you could call it articles on blogs or whatever, or featured articles, and that's where those would be your longer, in-depth stuff. But clearly define them. Yeah.
Okay, let's call that an answer. We'll move on to the next. This one is from Ronnie Hansen. Questions about a multilingual site, it's titled. Ronnie said, hi guys, I have questions about a multilingual site. I think that should be lingual, Ronnie. He said, I have a Danish site, .dk, in Denmark, and now I am opening a shop in Germany as well. I have a really good domain, so would like to use the company name / domain on the German.de market. Okay, I clicked the wrong button there. He said, so Danish customers would go to www.domain.dk, and German also go to the same address and then get geo-transferred to www.domain.dk/d, or go direct to /de. I would make it as, I wouldn't do that. I would make it as two separate sites and separate databases, but it would look like one site that's just multilingual. My web shop cannot handle multiple currencies, and it's going to be a Danish and a German company. I will mark up both sites with href lang tags DA and DE. DA? One, what more should be aware of SEO-wise? Two, how can I in Webmaster Tools assign the /de site to the German market when the domain is set for the Danish market? And three, other tips are very welcome.
I think Federico Sasso gave a really good set of answers in the community.
I'll read it out. Federico said, unfortunately, at least for Google, .dk is strictly bound to Denmark, which make it really tough to compete on a Google.de for the German market. I know SEO people I highly respect, claiming they managed to rank well on a market with a different country-level domain. I personally never did, and highly suggest registering a .de or a generic top-level domain like .com if you target the German-speaking market, not only Germany. Then you can leverage alternate href lang links when feasible.
Ronnie seems to be very keen on having this somewhat complicated system of people going through the .dk site. If you look at his last response in this thread, then he seems to be quite insistent on doing that.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd point out is that if he's going to immediately redirect people from from a search, an organic search on Google, he's going to automatically redirect users on landing to another page, then Googlebot will immediately index the other page, not the one that they originally landed on, that U301 redirected from.
So I think I agree with Federico in that I think the best way forward is to have two separate sites, .dk and .de, instead of having to sort of do somersault, as it were, because from what I've gathered, from what I've read, it seems as if Ronnie really wants to have this redirect in place, and I really cannot see why he would want to insist on that.
Yes, agreed. And as Federico explained, .dk is a CCTLD, a country-specific domain name, and Googlebot automatically targets .dk to traffic from Denmark. That's not to say that .dk won't rank in other sites, but not often, and not to any great. It'll only be shown if there's no a better targeted page. Yeah, I love Federico Sasso's answers. There's too much to read out, but recommend that Ronnie, anybody listening to this question, look at the comments either on dumbseoquestions.com or on the SEO Questions community on Google+.
Yeah, so in the sense that it would be interesting to know why Ronnie is so insistent on doing this redirect, because that's, I think, what I certainly don't get. There he says, I really want to keep the geo redirect.
Yeah,
and this is the question, why? And I personally cannot think of a compelling reason why you would want to do that if it's possible to, let's say, have a site in .dk and a site in .de, and then have the language switch option at the top of the page or something like that, and then use hreflang to associate the two different language versions. I think that would seem to me a far more sensible and I think viable long-term strategy than trying to redirect people through one site and then ending up on either subdirectory or even on the domain. It just doesn't seem to quite make sense to me.
Yeah, I agree with you, Masataki. And the thing is that what can go wrong will go wrong, and in nearly everything SEO, the best results come from keeping it as simple as it can possibly be, and introducing an unneeded complexity just doesn't make sense. Ronnie asks, is there a way I can make it work with tagging the redirect non-redirected traffic. I don't think that's the issue. I mean, I think the issue is that with every redirect, there's a loss in the value of the page, the values of the page that you're redirecting. But also, Googlebot will say, oh, okay, so this is a better page, thank you very much, and drop the other page from contention. So you'll be continually shooting yourself in the foot. Let's call that an answer and move on to the next. This one from Devin Peterson. This is interesting. He said, I'm maintaining a blog on a website where I have very little access to the source code. Also, there is no blog style CMS, so I created my own CMS externally, and I insert the blog articles on a designated page using JavaScript. When the new page URL is created, so I have to dynamically insert a title, but it only gets inserted into the page after it has already been rendered. He said the browser displays the correct title after a second or two, but the source code does not. So I feared that Google was not indexing the page with the correct title, and to confirm this, I checked the webmaster tools, and sure enough, Google doesn't seem to be associating the page with the title that is inserted via JavaScript after the head renders. I have zero access to the source code prior to rendering. What can I possibly do?
Okay, because I didn't have an answer to that, but I see Shiraj has answered, so... Okay, well, he's provided an answer, so... which is still not specifically clear.
Yeah, I think that the issue is that with the way he's creating the page, JavaScript is forcing the title of the page into the browser, but it's not visible on the source code, and the only thing that Googlebot is interested in is the source code. And that's why you picked out there, Tim, that only one page is in the index, because Google always sees the same page, and the user sees whatever's been dynamically generated. So, you know, gee, if I was doing this and edited a blog, you could put a WordPress blog, post it on WordPress, and use DNS to run it off the site, and then you just wouldn't have these issues. It's great that you can, you know, write that page, but it's not something that Googlebot can swallow, because Googlebot simply doesn't see it. If you were to check your page that you're creating, Devin, using a link browser, like a text-only browser, you wouldn't see your new page. You'd only see the original page you created. And that's what Googlebot says. Actually, that might be interesting. You could have a page. That'd be like having a page for users and another page for Googlebot. You could load up the page for Googlebot. No, you shouldn't do that. No, no, no. Okay. All right. Look, will we call this an answer? I'm recording that as a yes. The next question that we have finally shows up. It's from Michael D. Ross, and it's titled, "My business has moved to a new city." Michael goes on to say, "I set up a whole new website and a new domain, but now I am thinking that maybe I should use the old domain because of its domain authority. It has a pretty good SEO rankings for our old city. If I did use the old domain and website, should I just change the city name everywhere in the site, or should I just point that domain to my new website? What will be best for organic and local SEO in the long run?" That's interesting. Kevin Carney, his response was to keep the old domain and the old content and simply update the city names.
Yeah, I mean, looking at his domain, it's not actually, you know, it doesn't contain any location specific in it. So personally, I would have kept the old domain, or I would actually keep the old domain, and then update the content within there to be more obviously location based now, more specific. Of course, your contact details and all of that would change, etc., etc. So I would have kept the old domain and updated all of that. Of course, bear in mind, you also need to, now that you've moved, and let's say you do keep the old domain, to go and just double check any references or citations in directories that was from the old, obviously, because that would have included the name, which I doubt the name's actually changed, but your address would have changed. So you need to just track those down and just make sure that your, anyone that referenced you at the old address and telephone number is updated to the new address and the new telephone number for the business.
Yes, Tim, I totally agree. Anybody else agree? Everybody else agrees. Yeah, thumbs up from David Roseanne. All right, let's tweet that one and move on to the next. Mike Ross, or actually I see from the comments it wasn't Mike Ross, but it was Mike Ross's wife. So Mrs. Ross, yes, I have, that was what you were looking for. You found Tim Capper. All right, here's another one from Chase Rayner. Does updating a Google Plus page affect local rankings? Chase said, "I need your opinions. Does updating a Google Plus page or increasing follower/engagement count affect local rankings?"
No. No, and it depends. Okay, just basic. I've got a business page. I've got my website. I'm not doing anything else apart from keeping my posts regular and updating, etc. No, that's not going to do jack. The things that we do know specifically that would help in your local pack is reviews. Those are somehow weighed into the algo. So reviews do certainly help. I know business support tells people that you need to answer the reviews to give you benefit, but I haven't seen that, but business support seems to tell people that. What I have also found is that if you take a business page that is not connected to a website and you create, posts to do with things that are in there, and also this is the example. A local coffee shop down the road from myself, they don't have a website, but we set them up a business page. We got them into the habit of, obviously, a regular post, so handmade cakes, oh, this is our latest sandwich board, this is the newest sandwich. Now because of that, what I feel is that there's no attached website for Googlebot to equate content on the site to what is attached to the business or what the business does. In this instance, Googlebot sees the posts as the content, and so now they're appearing for freshly made sandwiches in town, so they will appear within the local pack, or lunchtime specials in Corby, and they will now appear within the local pack, although they're branded as a coffee shop, etc., etc. Information in that instance will help the local pack. But of course, if you've got a website attached, Googlebot doesn't say, okay, I've got this content and now you're posting more content and now there's double. No, it doesn't work like that. So my answer is no, but there are some things that will. But if you're just essentially going to post and not actually do anything else, then it's not going to do anything.
Thank you, Tim. Would anybody like to add to Tim's great answer? All right, so let's tweet that, and we will move on to the next. Giselle de Leon, who promised to join us tonight, has been away for a while, and it looks like she's away for yet another night. But Giselle said, "Hi everyone, I'm certainly back. I'll be glad if you can check out this website, 583travel.com, and share your thoughts and opinions. Thanks in advance. I'll try my best to be on the hangout on air tonight." You liar. Okay. Did anyone have a look at Giselle's new site? I did. I thought it was all right. It's a site which looks after visa travel. The reason for the 583 is I think 583 is the visa for the US. It looks like it's a US-based company which looks after visa traffic for the Philippines and the US. How you would rank for it, and I guess it'd be really competitive, highly competitive. And the other issue is that most of the information would be US information, but their target, of course, would be the Philippines.
Then the thing is, I think the company is offering two, if you like, distinct sets of services, or doing the same things from different angles, if that's going to make sense. One section is about people visiting the Philippines, so people needing visas to go to the Philippines. That's the immigration side of things. That's the immigration tab on that site. And yet there's another site, and this is for Filipinos to go to other countries. So they're supporting sort of incoming and outgoing people, if that makes sense. So we have non-Filipinos coming into the Philippines, and this company offers support to those people. But the company also supports and aids people who are Filipinos who want to go abroad to different countries. So the website lists different countries: United States, Japan, etc. So landing on the top page, if you like, it's unclear. It was unclear to me what the company was offering because of these two different types, or two very broadly very different types of services that it offers. So that's where I was confused.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Masataki. And really, I reckon that the approach is not optimal. I'd be thinking that you split these functions into two websites. One like a country-specific domain name for the Philippines in the Filipino language for the Filipino market, and the other one for inbound.
Yeah, and there's another tab that says tour package, and that's aimed for people visiting the Philippines. So that's another, if you like, different area of business. So at the moment, there seems to be a few different types of services on offer, which are related. And obviously, if you are selling tour packages, then clearing the immigration might be part of that. But that's a very different proposition from Filipinos going abroad.
Yes, well, that's. I think this is our last question tonight. So we do have some time up our sleeve. If anybody would like to add to this one for Giselle.
Well, I think it lacks content. Everywhere I click, I get a form.
At 404, I think I got cut off. Rob, did you say everywhere you click you get a 404?
Form.
Oh, form.
Form.
Yeah, I noticed it says beta by the logo at the top, or at least the title at the top. So I was giving the site or Giselle the benefit of the doubt that in fact there was going to be some copy coming, but yeah, you may be right, Rob. They may just have not done it. As it stands, I find this very, very confusing. And visit and explore Osaka, Japan, or Tokyo, Japan, or whatever, and need a visa to all sorts of places, and yeah.
Yeah, I think it is in beta. I mean, silly thing, but all their social media on the bottom aren't connected up. So yeah, I'm thinking it might still be being worked on. I think. Another possible thing, if people are sending information to you, which they are in the consultation form, and they get a quote, the site is not in HTTPS. I mean, I don't know if you guys have sort of data protection rules over in the Philippines, but it should ideally be an HTTPS.
And if the site is not complete yet, it would be wise to no index it till it is. Because now she's serving up, in my opinion, half a site, and Google doesn't like half-made sites.
That's very true.
Yeah, I mean, you're like just off the like sort of if somebody landed on this now, and I think it is in beta, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I've just gone to your Visa Abroad page. I can't actually visit any of the country visas that you're offering from. So the US, Australia, Japan, China, Dubai, and Korea. Those pages aren't. Yeah. Mm.
Do you use sites of this type, Tim, or do you have visas for every country left over from the KGB days?
Diplomatic immunity, mate. I just travel where I want to go, when I want to go, how I want to go. I don't enter via usual airports, Jim.
All right, let's call that a wrap for Giselle de Leon. And Giselle, if you happen to watch this, we want to know where you were. Okay, let's move on to the next. We've done it again, guys. We've answered all of the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google Plus for yet another week. Now we move on to our SEO News community on Google Plus to look at this week's SEO News Roundup. Our first topics of interest are posted on the SEO News community. You can post yourself there, and if it's news, SEO news, we'll talk about it. The first one we'll talk about is that 20% of mobile search queries are voice queries. Jesus, how do you optimize for that, guys?
I must have been living on a different planet.
The question, that is a very good question, and it's the one that this leads to. We've obviously got a great increase in mobile search, and now we're getting a fifth, or Google is reporting a fifth of mobile search being through voice. And Google is not giving us a lot of info via analytics or Google Search Console as to what's happening in this space. What kind of voice searches are actually being made, and there's a lot of conjecture out there. If you want to read up on it, on how we should go about optimizing content for this. There's the thought that this is where long tail search queries really come into their own, and we should be further optimizing more granularly. If you wish. I don't know. I think I think that Google is throwing us a carrot. Rob is being a bit dubious about whether this is actually the case. I think he probably hasn't even got a smartphone over there. I don't know. Obviously, Google has been having has been spending a lot of time pushing us into to mobile friendliness with our web presence, and this now seems to be the next stage. Let's get everyone panicking about how we optimize for voice search. I think this is very much on the bleeding edge for SEO, and until we can get some data on what's actually happening, on what people are searching on, and indeed whether a fifth of the people are doing it all of the time, or we're all doing it a fifth of the time, I don't know. Yeah, it's somewhere out on the horizon at the moment. I thought it was interesting that it's come up.
Yep, thank you, Dave.
Well, this proportion is going to increase, right? In the future.
What was that, Masataki?
This proportion of voice search will increase over time. I would guess. I mean, more and more people will be asking Google, or what's the new thing that they announced, that AI Google Assistant, is it? So more and more people will be asking questions colloquially, verbally, instead of typing their queries into a search box. So it's going to be interesting how this evolves, and whether Google, instead of showing search results and leading to web entities, external sites, they might respond with the answer extracted from various sources.
I think it's one thing that I find is well, my question is what are people actually saying into their voice search? Are they saying local fish and chip shop, or are they saying, can you find me the local fish and chip shop to where I am now?
Or where's the fish and chip shop?
Sorry, the last time I tried to do a voice search was, well, in fact, pretty much every time I've tried to do a voice search, I'm somewhere where it's noisy, and Google either stops responding or it gives me gibberish. So if they are counting that crap in their, 20% bold, do you know what I mean? I'm sorry, but literally, I haven't. The only time I've wanted to make a voice search was when I'm in a situation where I can't type something in, but it's too bloody noisy in the meantime anyway. So my voice searches, if anything are to go by, is like drunken people screaming, and Google eventually, once you've made enough gibberish voice searches, it stops allowing you to make a voice search. Like 404's itself, like, fuck, time out, mate. I can't understand you.
I think a lot of use case...
Yeah, I'm going to take a bit of that with a pinch of salt. They're 20% of search queries. Yeah, pinch of salt. I'd say 5% that they can understand.
I guess quite a lot of it actually would be situations like where someone's driving, where you can't really be fiddling a phone while you were driving, but you might be able to make a voice query. And if you're looking for a destination, or perhaps a restaurant, or cinema, I don't know, then it might be useful to have that kind of voice command saying that take me to the nearest fish and chippy shop. Then the response, the natural response, in the ideal world, the natural response is that then Google will understand that, and they'll go to maps and they'll tell you how to get there. becoming a sat nav.
Yeah, I guess too. I mean, whether we should have to be concerned about it. I mean, what's the value of this traffic? It's really, if you think about it, going to be mainly local search relevant queries, isn't it? You know, like where, as David said, where's the local fish and chip shop, or where's the nearest pizza?
Oh yeah, I mean, we talked about recipes earlier with rich cards. Recipes could be one. You might have your hands full. You might not be able to, because your hands are messy. You might not want to touch your phone or tablet. Then you might want to use voice command. So I think there are quite a lot of situations where it is convenient, perhaps safer, to use voice search rather than having to fiddle the device.
It's funny, that cooking that cooking example is a situation where I use voice quite a lot, but it's not for search. I'm forever saying set timer for 30 minutes while I've got junk all over my hands. So I use it for timing what's in the oven, but not for looking for what to put in the oven.
Yeah, but then you might say, how long do I need to cook this chicken? And then, Google might say, well, how heavy is the chicken? And then Google might then tell you that, at so many degrees for so many minutes. And
only Cortana would be as clever as that, Masataki.
But I think all of these things are generally heading towards that way. That not only are voice queries being understood, interpreted, and I think whether it's Google, Apple, or Facebook, whoever it is, they want to respond. They want to give you the replies.
It's a very interesting subject, which I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about as it all unfolds. But for now, let's. Will we move on to the next? I'm recording that as a yes, and thank you, David. Here's one posted by Edwin Yonk. Google puts shopping ads in image search. I don't know why this is news. They're putting it in on the toilet walls. They're putting ads everywhere. Anyway, Google puts shopping ads in image search for the first time. Next thing, it'll be ads on Google+. So I wonder that they haven't worked out how to put subliminal audio messages into voice search.
I was just about to suggest that. Do you think we ought to patent that while we can?
I think you might find it's against the law.
It's already there.
It's subliminal, so we don't know.
Exactly. That's how it's supposed to work. It's already there. You're already influenced.
Okay, so it is news that Google is putting shopping ads into image search for the very first time, but we'll file it under Google is shameless and we'll do anything. All right, let's move on to the next. Did I tweet that? I'm not sure. No, I didn't. Okay. All right. Next, this one. Oh yeah, there's a good feature. Tie your sites together with property sets in the Search Console for people that are running websites and mobile specific sites. You can put them together in the Google console now with a properties set. Anybody have a look at this feature? Well, it's pretty self-explanatory, and I've tweeted it,
Yeah.
so we'll move on to the next. Oh, sorry, David, were you going to speak?
Yes, I hadn't noticed that that Edwin had posted this, because I posted it as well. So item 20 is basically the same thing, and yes, I had a look at it.
Right. All right, here's one from Edwin. Do titles and H1 tags still have an SEO impact? This was an article put together by Distilled, and it's great that companies put together quality data like this, make tests and publish and share the results. We used to rely on Dan Petrovic for a lot of that, but I think he's got a little bit tired of doing it. I haven't seen much of Dan on Google+. I still see him on Facebook though.
Last one I saw of him was he was somewhere in the Philippines, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, he was on an Australian beach yesterday.
He's back.
Because we're in the middle of winter here, Tim. But he was on an Australian beach having a paddle about.
Right, and building an igloo, mate.
Yeah, we can do that here in Australia, you know.
Build igloos. Build igloos and be scared of little spiders. Bless you.
Our sea temperature is about the same level, same temperature as your water boilers.
Yeah, whatever, mate. Your sea temperature is about 22, and I don't even need to use voice search for that.
Yeah, I thought your igloos got beaten down by your kangaroos.
Look, Tim said igloos, not me. I didn't say we had igloos.
Oh, sorry, I got lost there. I thought you had upside down igloos down there in Australia.
Okay. Anyway, Distilled made a great post and provided some quality data, and of course the outcome of the test was that titles and H1s still have a significant SEO impact.
And you expect them to?
Yes.
Maybe not so much titles, but how can H1 tag content not have an impact on SEO? Google would be going completely off its trolley if it didn't. This is one place where machine and human are converging enormously.
Well, I would have thought titles. I mean, surely a title is what a page is. The title of a page is what it's about.
Yeah, it's more to the point. It's more from the point of view is yes, we know what a title is, but how much the title can you actually see when you've got umpteen tabs open on your browser? If it's part of the user interface, then it's a pretty buried one for most of us.
Well, it shows up in the SERP.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
But there are an awful lot of templates for WordPress that don't use the H1 but use the H2 instead. I come across that all the time.
Yeah, there are all sorts of odd things happen there, don't they? Because there's the title field or whatever it's called, the one that's separate from the body content, and sometimes that comes up as H1 and sometimes it isn't, and yeah, it drives me mad.
Yeah, or it generates it automatically from the title, and then you can tick the box to not show it, so you don't have a H1 left. But my advice would be still use good titles and H1 and H2.
Yeah, totally agree with you.
Okay, let's move on to the next.
I didn't actually manage to get my bad joke in about distilled condensing the information for us.
Oh, condensing. You're very good, David.
Sorry, that wasn't from my book. I do warn you. I do have my book with me, as usual, this week.
All right. Now, this one is a great... by the way, I thank David and Edwin for the effort put in posting, first of all, canvassing and finding the significant SEO news of the week. And here was one that I found, and it was a comparison on tools like Ahrefs and Moz and SEMrush, and in this particular article, the chosen tool for the best keyword research tool was Ahrefs, and Longtail Pro was the runner-up. As you know, Longtail Pro used to have this field all on its own, and then the bigger players like SEMrush have provided their version. Anyway, I think it's absolutely great. My favourite is SEMrush. I should point out that SEMrush provides to all of our panelists. You guys are all the lucky recipients of a Guru subscription to SEMrush, and for that we thank them. But I'm not saying that I love SEMrush because they give us a free tool. I'm saying that because the tool that they give us or lend us is a brilliant tool. I use it every day. Did anybody read this 10,000 word article? It's a long read. I see 4 muted microphones.
I skimmed it. I skimmed it. I know that Longtail Pro has had some significant upgrades recently, and I think a change of ownership, if I remember correctly. But if it's still basically the same thing, it is a bit of a beast to use. And I used it for a while in the absence of anything else, but I must say when I got my SEMrush subscription, I dropped it like a stone. I don't know, maybe the Longtail Pro has become the Longtail Pro upgrades have made it more usable, but it was very very long-winded, almost as long-winded as me talking about it. And I've never used Ahrefs much, so I'm not really qualified to say.
Okay. Anybody else want to comment on this one before we move on? All right. This one, a message from Dave Elliott, one of our forum heroes that looks after so many great questions and like so many great answers through the week. Dave points out that those larger Google widths noticed by some over the past few weeks are no longer, well, are not an official change. They're only an experiment, a possible official change down the track. Any comments on this one? All right. Yeah, go on, Mr. Taki.
I'm just going to say that they seem to be doing quite a lot of experiments recently on desktop search results. You've noticed the ad, sort of the pill thing, color was changed to different ones. The search results, the links were turned grey for some. So quite a few things going on that people have noticed. I think perhaps they're conducting more experiments now.
Yeah. Okay, let's call this item discussed. And that's not DISGUST. Let's move on to the next. That's the duplicate question from David Rozam, which is a duplicate of the other one posted by Edwin. So we can go past this one, can't we, David?
Yes, it's duplicate content, so we can ignore it.
Okay, and I don't know why I tweeted that, I shouldn't have. And it's that time again. If we have no other items of general business, we'll close this meeting. No? Okay. Well, look, it's thank you for watching, and we appreciate it very much. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile. We'll be back at the same time next week to do this all again. But for now, it's good night.